did not have something.
Awesome thing.
It was about flushing toilets and...
All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to begin here shortly. Please ensure your cell phones are off or on silent. And council members, just ensure your microphones are turned on, please.
That's really bad.
Is that? Is that you, Bob?
I thought that was fun.
He's just making sure.
Buzz is why you looking at me.
Put it on silent. It doesn't care.
That was perfect. I haven't never heard your cell phone ring except for twice. Both times after I said something like that.
On cue.
Spooky. All right, today is Monday, February 5th, 2024. It is committee of the whole meeting for Barberton City Council. Before we begin the committee of the whole meeting, we do have individual committee meetings this evening. And we will start with street, sidewalk, and lighting with Mrs. Beck.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I'd like to bring the Streets, Lighting, and Sidewalk Committee to order. Today is Monday, February 5th, 2024. The time is 6:05. All members of my committee are present, including myself as chair, Monty Harris, Kenneth Cheatham, and Justin Greer. All other council members and others noted on my sheet. We have no requested legislation at this time, as well as no pending legislation. Do we have any miscellaneous discussions tonight?
I just have, maybe the mayor can answer. Is there any updates on the 31st and Eastern intersection stuff going on?
So there was a accident this past weekend. We were waiting to get that police report. We did not take the report. But we were meeting with Norton last week, and it's been determined that a four-way stop will be made there temporarily, and so that should be up any day now. And then they're going to continue moving forward. So.
One other thing.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
We are adjourned at 6:06.
Thank you, Mrs. Beck. Next up is Environmental Health and Social Services with Mrs. Hager.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I'd like to bring the Environmental Health and Social Services Committee to order. It is February 5th. The time is 6:07. Location is Council Chambers. All members of the committee are present, including myself as chair, Trevor Griffin, Taylor Thompson, and Justin Greer. All other council members are in attendance, as well as guests as listed on my sheet. There are no requests for legislation at this time and no pending legislation. Is there any discussion among council? Among the gallery? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
and we are adjourned at 6:07.
Thank you, Ms. Hager. Next up, Planning, Annexation, and Codes with Mr. Heddick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Planning, Annexation, and Codes. It's Monday, February 5th, 2024, 6:08 p.m. in council chambers. Committee is present, which consists of Councilors Harris, Thompson, President Greer, and myself as chair. All others noted. We have no request for legislation. We've got nothing else. Is there any miscellaneous discussion from the body? From the gallery? Mr. President?
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to see and confirm if the council members received the draft zoning. Have they received that yet?
I don't believe he sent it out.
Okay.
I have a very, very loose copy of it, but it's not the one that the director wanted to send out just yet.
Okay, I was just following up. Thank you, Chair.
Is there anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Adjourned at 6:08.
All right, Finance and Personnel with Mrs. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to bring the Finance and Personnel Committee to order. It is Monday, February 5th, 2024, 6:09 PM here in Council Chambers. All members of the committee are present, which includes myself as chair, Mr. Heidick, Mr. Griffin, and President Greer. All other council members are also present, and guests as noted on my sheet. We have a few requests for legislation this evening. The first being a letter from Laura Reese-Price, Clerk of City Council, requesting legislation to pay an invoice to American Legal Publishing for $5,070.19 for the 2023 S3 supplement pages. Emergency wording is requested. Is there any questions or comments about that? Hearing none, can I have a motion to call for this, please?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And a second? Those in favor? Aye. Moving on, we have a letter from Lisa Kolish Miller, Law Director, requesting legislation to enter into a one-year contract with the Legal Defender's Office of Summit County in the amount of $210 per case. Emergency wording and one reading is requested. Are there any questions? Hearing none, can I have a motion to call for this?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have a letter from Katie Reed, Clerk of Courts, requesting legislation to approve the 2024 annual fee to Henshin and Associates Incorporated in the amount of $5,740. Emergency wording is requested. This is the case management company that the court uses. The request is to pay the annual fees that are paid each January. Are there any questions? Hearing none, can I have a motion to call?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up, we have another letter from Katie Reed, Clerk of Courts, requesting legislation to approve payment of the invoice to Henshin and Associates Incorporated in the amount of $11,700 for upgrading the records search and to host the, sorry, there's a typo there, and also $6,062 for the development of a new website for a total of $17,762 for the Barberton Municipal Court. The funds would come out of the clerk's technology fund and not paid out of the city's budget. We've been having issues with the court being on the city-run website. The website's not currently secure and most users are unable to use the function to see the online docket. This has not only been an issue for defendants wanting to pay a fine or attorneys, but also for agencies such as the FBI. Are there any questions or comments regarding this request? Hearing none, can I have a motion to call, please?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there any miscellaneous discussion for finance? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
I'll second that.
All right, we are adjourned at 6:13.
Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. That concludes our individual committee meetings for this evening. We're going to take up to a 15-minute break as we wait for some firefighters to show up. And once they show up, we'll just begin our committee of the whole meeting then. Thank you. We good?
I might be dead wrong on what we're doing. We have to suspend stuff?
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to everybody that showed up after the break. We're going to begin here shortly, minus the firefighters. Please ensure your cell phones are turned off or on vibrate. Kind of want you guys to hear what you have to hear. And council members, ensure your microphone's turned on. Today, we do have two resolutions that we will take up first when the meeting starts. We're going to be honoring Donna Kime and Captain Hardgrove today. So when we do the resolutions, if you guys want to come up to receive the resolution once those start, and we'll get started. Today is Monday, February 5th, 2024. It's a committee of the whole meeting for Barberton City Council. I call this meeting to order at 6:26 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, as mentioned, we're going to start off with the presentation of the Resolution 1-2024 to honor Donna Kime. I do want to point out, before you say this, I have a note here that it is her birthday today. Is that? I told her if I was a singer, we'd sing you happy birthday. I'm not quite. Clerk, if you could read off the resolution, and Mrs. Kime, if you wanted to come up and receive your resolution, once she's done reading this, we'd appreciate it. Clerk, yes.
Resolution number 1-2024, title, Commendation Donna Kime. A resolution of the Council of the City of Barberton to honor and give public recognition to Donna Kime for her continuous dedication to the City of Barberton. Whereas Donna Kime was born in the state of Indiana but has lived in the City of Barberton for over 60 years, and whereas Donna was just appointed to the Barberton Parks and Recreation Board in 1990 by Mayor Art Bradnick, Jim Farron was the first director in place when Mrs. Kime joined the board. And whereas Donna has two sons, John and Michael, both proud Ohio State alumni. Both sons are very successful, as John has a dental practice in Manchester and Michael is a chemical engineer who is a successful entrepreneur. And whereas Donna has spent many loving years with her longtime companion, Walt Ritzman, traveling, fundraising, and enjoying life together. Whereas Donna has worked in the medical field and dental field for several doctors and dentists, Donna became the director of the Community Health Center in Barberton, where she devoted many volunteer hours. And whereas Donna dedicated her time to the Barberton Parks and Recreation Department by volunteering for special events and programs over the years, such as the Lake Anna Arts and Crafts Festival, along with Nina Angeloff, Jeep Davis 5K, Fall Family Fun Night, and the Mayor's Luncheons at the Senior Center. Additionally, Donna has served on the Barberton Beautification Committee and volunteered each year at the Mum Festival. And whereas Donna remembers many good times with the commission, such as assisting in digging the tulips and giving a speech at the dedication of the natatorium. And whereas after retirement from the Parks and Recreation Commission, Donna plans to dog sit her grand dog 3 days a week to keep herself busy and enjoy the summer at her son's house on the water in Portage Lakes. And Section 1, that the Council of the City of Barberton hereby honors and gives public recognition to Donna Kime for her continuous dedication to the City of Barberton. Section 2, that it is hereby found and determined that all formal actions of this council concerning and relating to the passage of this ordinance were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations and of this council and any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were meetings open to the public in compliance with the law. Section 3, that this resolution shall be in force and effect from and after the earliest period allowed by law. Passed unanimously January 8th, 2024.
Donna, would you like to step up here? Council members, if you'd like to come up and shake Donna's hand, that'd be awesome.
You can tell her.
Thank you.
I have on my thing.
I have enjoyed the 33 years that I have spent on the Parks Board. I served under many mayors, but I can say that working with Mayor Bill, he has had the most interest and support to our Parks Department, which I have appreciated. It's been a pleasure working with you and your friendship. I hope that all of you use our parks, or the ball fields, and continue to keep up them and support our parks department. We want to be a city that has the best parks, the best ball fields, and the best senior center, and it only is going to be with your help. Thank you. Can I be excused?
Of course.
Look, she's been around a while.
She's got a birthday dinner to get to.
Yeah. Donna, happy birthday. Happy birthday.
It's my 83rd birthday, and I think I deserve it a lot better.
Yes, you do. Yes, ma'am. All right, next up, we have a presentation of the Resolution 3-2024 to honor Captain Fire Marshal Richard Hardgrove.
Resolution number 3-2024. Title, Commendation. Captain Fire Marshal Richard W. Hardgrove. A resolution of the Council of the City of Barberton to honor and give public recognition to Richard W. Hardgrove for his 32 years of dedicated service to the City of Barberton Fire Department and to this community. Whereas Richard Hardgrove began his career as a Barberton firefighter paramedic on January 19, 1988, and whereas Richard Hardgrove was promoted April 16, 1996 to lieutenant, and on May 23, 1997 to captain fire marshal, and whereas Richard has completed numerous certifications over the years, including State of Ohio Firefighter Level 2, State of Ohio Paramedic, State of Ohio Fire Inspector, NFPA 1021 Fire Officer 1 and 2, Incident Safety Officer, NIMS ICS 300 and 400, IAAI-CFI Certified Fire Investigator, and numerous certifications in the fire investigation methods, arson investigation methods, firework and pyrotechnics, fire codes, and building inspections, And whereas Richard has had many accomplishments over his career, including supervising the Barberton Fire Department's fire inspectors and fire safety educators, along with being responsible for the department's data recording software. And whereas Richard obtained his Bachelor of Science in Fire and Safety Engineering Technology from the University of Akron. His dedication and experience will be greatly missed, as his last date with the Barberton Fire Department was January 28, 2020. And whereas Richard's experience will be greatly missed, and now, therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Barberton, State of Ohio, Section 1, that the Council of the City of Barberton hereby honors and gives public recognition to firefighter paramedic Richard Hardgrove for his 32 years of dedicated service to the Barberton Fire Department and to this community. Section 2, that it is hereby found and determined that all formal actions of this council concerning and relating to the passage of this ordinance were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and of any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were meetings open to the public in compliance with the law. Section 3, that this resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after the earliest period allowed by law. Passed unanimously January 8th, 2024.
Okay.
Congratulations, and I'm sorry it took so long.
Paul, thank you for your time. We had a good time. Yes, we did.
Thank you so much.
I was in that seat.
Thank you. Everybody, thank you.
That's a long time ago, too.
I can't follow what the lady said, but I want to thank everybody for this, and it was a pleasure serving the city and working with these guys back here. It was an honor on my part, and but for the grace of God, I was able to accomplish all this. Thank you very much.
All right, so Chief made a point to let it be known that he wanted to say something.
Along with that resolution, it was very in-depth, but I want to add a few things. When Richard first came on, we started running the Advanced Life Support as our own paramedic service in November of 1989. There were only 9 of us at the time. So Richard was on the ground floor of that. Other things, even though he had a lot of training in that, one thing that he was always good at is building relationships. Working with Richard, we probably worked 300 to 400 fires together when it comes to investigation. And a lot of times people don't realize the guys put the fire out, and that's when our work starts. We go in there, digging out fire scenes, doing interviews, taking tons and tons of photos. So just so you know that Richard was always a good leader when it comes to training us, because right now we have a very good group of investigators, and I want to credit Captain Hardgrove with building that whole team and building outside relationships. We had a very good relationship with the Detective Bureau, Police Department, and State Fire Marshal's office. It wasn't too out of bounds to call a State Fire Marshal when we had a question and had him come in. So I do want to add that to the resolution. So again, thank you,
There you go.
Perfect timing.
That's what, well, I was going to say, if we didn't start that 5 minutes early, everybody would be gone again. Yeah. Thank you, Captain. You've been around long enough. You don't have to stay any longer if you don't want to.
I'm gonna go to dinner, so.
All right.
Enjoy.
Was there any, thank you for checking.
I probably need to get out of the elevator.
I hope they didn't take the elevator if they're on fire.
All right, next thing on the agenda is going to be citizens addressing council. Thank you to Lori, there is none. And we'll hop into our committee reports, and we'll start with streets, sidewalks, and lighting with Mrs. Beck.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening, streets, sidewalks, and lighting met in council chambers. We didn't have anything, so with that, I pass.
Thank you, Ms. Beck. Environmental Health and Social Services, Mrs. Hager.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight, at February 5th, the Environmental Health and Social Services Committee met in council chambers at 6:07. We had no requested legislation, no pending legislation, and with that, I pass.
Thank you, Ms. Hager. Planning, Annexation, and Codes, Mr. Heidick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Planning, Annexation, and Codes has nothing to report. With that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Heidick. City Properties, Parks, and Recreation, Mr. Cheatham.
Thank you, Mr. President. City Parks and Rec and Planning, I'm sorry, has nothing at this time, and with that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Cheatham. Public Welfare and Safety, Mr. Harris.
Public Welfare and Safety met on January 22nd here in council chambers. All members were present, with the exception of Mr. Cheatham. We had no request for legislation, and we had one pending legislation which we passed, resolution number 8-2024, which was the accommodation for police officer Shannon Davis. And with that, I will pass.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Ms. Gearhart, Rules, Marketing, and Development.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rules, Marketing, and Development met on Monday, January 22nd, 2024, here in council chambers. All members of my committee were present. We had one new piece of legislature. It was a request from Ms. Price, council clerk, a letter requesting legislation to approve the editing and inclusion of certain ordinances as part of the various component codes of the Barberton codified ordinances and repeal ordinances and resolutions that are in conflict. Emergency wording was requested. A motion was made. It was voted on. It passed, and it came out of my committee. And with that, I pass.
Thank you, Ms. Gearhart. City Utilities, Mr. Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. President. City Utilities has nothing to report. With that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Last but not least, Finance and Personnel, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Finance and Personnel Committee met this evening in council chambers. All members of the committee were present, as well as all other council members. And guests as noted on my sheet. We had 4 requests for legislation. The first, a letter from Laura Reese Price, Clerk of City Council, requesting legislation to pay an invoice to American Legal Publishing for $5,070.19 for the 2023 S3 supplement pages. Emergency wording is requested, and that passed. The next, a letter from Lisa Miller, Law Director, requesting legislation to enter into a 1-year contract with the Legal Defender's Office of Summit County in the amount of $210 per case. Emergency wording and 1 reading requested. That also passed. Next up, a letter from Katie Reed, Clerk of Courts, requesting legislation to approve the 2024 annual fee to Henshin and Associates Incorporated in the amount of $5,740. Emergency wording requested. And finally, another letter from Katie Reed, Clerk of Courts, requesting legislation to approve payment of the invoice to Henshin and Associates Incorporated for a total amount of $17,762 for the Barberton Municipal Courts. That also passed this evening. We had no miscellaneous discussion, and we adjourned at 6:13. With that, I pass.
Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. That concludes our individual committee reports. Is there anything from the body? I do want to add that I've been mentioning the rules. Ms. Gearhart has been on it. She's been talking to the clerk. I've been kind of hearing things from specific council members. If you have ideas, please forward them to Ms. Gearhart so she can compile them and we'll get a list together with what we have. Again, it's nothing dire, but we do want to make some updates if they're needed. We don't need to find something. It's not like a thing to find something, but if there is something that we can bring in front of council, we can all choose whether it goes ahead, and we'll do that. Well, I guess I don't have anything else. So is there anything from department heads? All right, mayor's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank everyone who attended the Change for Change event this last week. Collected over $730 for Main Street Barberton. Also want to thank M&M Tap House for hosting the event. Next Change for Change will be at the Hungarian Club, benefiting the Barberton Rotary, and that's on February 23rd. I want to thank all the businesses and residents who donated for the non-perishables and other collection efforts the last 2 months. Special thank you to ARDL and the YMCA for participating at the level that they did as well. And although that went to the Barberton Salvation Army and Backham. Updated council earlier on the four-way stop that's been recommended over there at Eastern Road. So that should be this week. The Newell Street site, we continue to work with the Barberton Community Foundation on the development of that site. As you may remember, we received a $350 Transportation Improvement District, or TID grant, for the roadway for that site. So continuing to work on that. The Worcester Road West project continues. I'm happy to announce that we did receive recently a $500,000 TID grant on that one, which we applied for not too long ago. The South Van Buren Avenue project also continuing. They're making great strides on that. I don't know how far you may have been down on that. It's kind of a mess right now. Definitely need to get your car cleaned after traveling down there. But the stormwater line installation, the water line installation is pretty impressive. What's pretty cool is being on site there is it's clear to see that not only the improvements that we're making to the infrastructure is going to benefit the entire area, but the improvements just to compacting the soil, because the soil it doesn't look very good down there. And so doing this project is not going to help just the infrastructure, but it's going to help the compaction of that soil for generations to come. So keep making it more stable and really helping that infrastructure that's already there and the new infrastructure that's coming in. So it's pothole season, as we know. Please report potholes to my office and we'll get those on the list. We still have the e-ticket system as well. I did find this newspaper article from the Akron Beacon Journal from 1981 talking about those blankety-blank potholes. So this isn't new. This is something that we've been dealing with the entire area for many, many years, and it's not going away. It seems to get worse because it seems like the winters are more freezing and thawing than it was when I was a kid. So it seems to be getting worse because of that. We have gone through 6 tons of coal patch this year and almost 42 tons of asphalt in patching potholes. So with the nice weather, it is nice that the plants are up and operating. So that's going to continue. And then just finally, the 2024 capital and operational budget should be in your hands later this week. And then I'll have some department heads up next week to start the budget hearings. All right, if you have any questions on the budget, please contact me as well. Any questions now? Yes.
We've had an enormous amount of water line breaks. Streets are getting cut out, to repair that stuff. Is there like a list of streets that are in line for replacement, water line replacements?
So there's a number of streets, yes. So there's a list that we would like to replace. The cost is high, so we are applying for grant funds. That grant, don't quote me on this, but it's sometime in the summertime. So you can apply once a year, June or July, and then you have to wait for to hear back, and that's usually around this time. So we applied for several streets last year. We're waiting to hear back. That's where Taylor Road came up. We applied the first time, asked for 100%. They said no. We waited another year, asked for 70%, they said yes. So the EPA is also looking at changing the minimum size of a water line from 4 inches to 6 inches. Well, older cities like us have a lot of 4-inch water lines. We want to be proactive and be able to change those out as well. So you think about Stratford in your area, you think about 5th Street downtown, think about 5th Street on the southeast side over by Giant Eagle going out to out down south. Those all need replaced because of the number of water main breaks. So we have that all put together. We try to prioritize that as well. So
Because I know Maple has, who knows how many cutouts.
Maple, Union, Stratford.
Hardin,
Yep.
35th, Southwest. I could go on.
And, you look at, as council members, elected officials, you're out campaigning, you probably didn't realize how hilly Barberton is until you start going door to door in certain areas, especially the east side and the north side. And that difference in terrain, that difference in soil composition also plays a factor in the water lines as well. And you assume that they were put in correctly at some point years ago, right? Standards have changed. A lot of things have changed. So we take that all into account as we're applying for funds. So, you have a question?
You said for potholes, we could do a form or contact your office. Is there a method preferred? I've been doing just the form online.
No, I mean, either way, if you could contact us, we put it in that way as well.
Okay.
And if they're out and about, we try to get it to them as quickly as possible.
Okay.
But doing it through the online portal, it timestamps it, so it keeps us, accountable.
Okay.
But, a lot of it is we're at the mercy of if they're making asphalt.
Yeah.
And so I may have mentioned this before, they used to make asphalt in the southern part of the town. So it would literally take 10 minutes to go get asphalt.
Now we have to get it somewhere else,
You
I
have to go to
think.
Marshallville or sometimes Copley or North Akron.
Mhm.
And so you could be, the travel time alone is 20 minutes one way. So that adds to the day and how much you can actually get done.
Yeah.
We've got 3 hot box asphalt holders, we call them hot boxes. 2 that are newer, and we've had both of those out. The third one's probably from the late 70s. So we still have it, but we've been making use of the 2 that we have. And they hold about 4 tons each.
Okay.
So if they're putting down 12 tons a day, they're going back multiple times.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. And then am I allowed to ask a second question?
yeah.
Sure.
Only if you want to.
So when the budget comes out, I know we can reach out if we have questions, but what does that look like? Like during our Monday nights, will we talk about the budget here?
So typically what happens, we can, anyone that contacts, any council member that contacts me with questions, I will answer and give it to everybody.
Okay.
Because you may have the same type of question. We can either, during Councilwoman Thompson's finance meeting, ask questions, or we can wait until after the proceedings are over and have a special budget meeting.
Okay.
So we can do either or. We can have a separate night if you like.
Okay.
By law, the budget has to be passed by the end of March.
Okay.
Last few years, it's been passed prior to that because, people are a little more, attuned to the budget and have asked questions and things like that. So we can do a mix of those things too.
Okay. I would like that.
Any other questions? Yes.
Couple things, Mayor. First off, that newspaper makes me feel really old, the way it looks. And second, I want to give kudos to whoever's idea it was to put those property signs out, the for sale signs with the QR codes. I've had 4 people reach out to me and say that that's awesome, and 2 of them said that they didn't even know those were city-owned properties. So that's kudos to whoever idea that was. But that did bring up another thing, and this is just a suggestion, maybe you've already thought about it. It'd be awesome if we can have something like that for road projects. A sign, this is a road project, here's to get info, this is where it's at.
So we have metal signs we put up, your issue 8 income tax increase, money being spent.
Yeah.
No QR code, but that's something we can look at.
I have a lot of people, like today I was getting a haircut and the barber was asking me about Worcester Road Rest, where it's at, all the different, I've had to explain it a whole bunch of times. But somewhere someone can go and just say, hey, this is everything that's being done. So they kind of know what's going on. But it's just a suggestion. Figured I'd mention it.
Yeah, and as we talked about streets and water line breaks, that's why we don't really release the roads, because I think the budget was $2 million for streets. So we have that kind of priority list that we're getting estimates on. But then I think we asked for pricing on another almost $4 million worth of streets. As, you know, if the streets come in under budget, you can just automatically choose those streets. Because the priority list really changes, because you have a street that's not too bad, then you have a bunch of water main breaks. It may move it up the list if, you know, depends on if we can get the water line straightened out or if it has to be totally replaced. There's a lot that goes into it, because a lot of these streets were just cinders, and then they would spray tar on it to keep the dust down, right? And then they would just put a very thin coat of asphalt on top, and that was it, right? So that's not how streets are built these days. So you think of the reconstruction projects that we have, that's building it the right way, which is gonna add stability and life to that street. And the curb, the gutter, the sidewalks, everything. When you look at some of these side streets, they just deteriorate because it's just asphalt on dirt. There's no solid base, right? So it's a lot of older cities like this have those types of problems. It doesn't make it any better.
Right.
But,
Thank you, Mayor.
all right, any other questions? All right, thank you.
All right, with nothing else from the body, nothing else from members. Actually, I do have one thing here I forgot to mention. February 8th, Parks and Recreation Commission meeting has been canceled. And now with nothing else.
Justin.
Sorry.
Those
Director?
signs were from the planning department, Pete Worsler and Stacy Carter.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for the clarification. All right, with nothing else from anybody, this meeting is adjourned at 6:56 PM.